Visuals on your screens of that IAF aircraft flight which has now landed carrying mortal remains of 45 Indians who died in Kuwaiti fire incident. The flight landed in Kochi at 10:30 this morning. Accompanying the remains was Minister of State Kirti Vardhan Singh, who flew into Kuwait on Thursday to work with authorities to ensure swift arrival of the mortal remains. Now, at least 45 migrant workers, remember, were killed. 50 were injured in the blaze in southern Kuwait's Mangaf on Wednesday morning when that fire broke out. Now, Prime Minister Modi has also directed MOS Singh to travel to Kuwait, where he did travel to Kuwait to oversee assistance to Indians who were injured in the fire. The Indian Air Force sent a transport aircraft to Kuwait on Thursday to bring back the bodies. Out of the 45 Indians who have been killed in that fire incident, 23 are from Kerala, 7 from Tamil Nadu, 3 each from Andhra and UP, 2 from Odisha, 1 from Bihar, Punjab, Karnataka, Maharashtra, West Bengal, Jharkhand and Haryana. This according to the embassy figures. The embassy has also said that mortal remains will be handed over to respective state government representatives in Kochi and in Delhi. My colleague Neha Bhan joining us with more details. Neha, it does appear that all 45 dead bodies, the mortal remains of those people who were killed in that fire, have now arrived in India.
Absolutely, Shweta. Let me just start by giving you the update. So the latest that we have is, like you mentioned, the Indian Air Force aircraft, which carried the bodies of 45 Indians, who died in the Kuwait building fire, has finally arrived in the Cochin International Airport. And we also have to understand that the mortal remains of these victims will be taken to their native places, which include those from Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. And the flight is expected to leave for Delhi at around 4 p.m. And, after that, Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, his cabinet colleagues and senior government officials from the department are also currently present at the Cochin Airport, and they would be receiving the mortal remains at the airport. Now, talking about the tragedy, the tragedy is so massive. We're talking here about over 40 lives that have been lost here, Shweta, and we also have to understand that Indians constitute around 21%. That's about 1 million of the total population in Kuwait and 30% of its workforce, approximately 9 lakh people. It was important to mention here this, given that we've lost around 45 Indians in this tragic fire that broke out in Kuwait just day before yesterday. Now, also, the initial probe, essentially, the Indian embassy officials have already met the Kuwait fire incident survivors as well as those who are investigating this matter. And they have suggested that glaring lapses, in fact, have emerged from the initial probe. There was a report in the Indian Express, they quoted sources and they've said that around 24 gas cylinders on the ground floor of the 7-story building, inflammable materials like paper, cardboard and plastic as partitions to separate the workers in the cramped room, and locked doors to the rooftops that did not allow workers to escape the rooftop. Now, this is the latest, that was shared, in fact, in the news website. And we have to understand here, we're talking about, I'm stressing on it again and again, we're talking about here 40 lives that have been lost. And here now, what we've given to understand, as per the sources that have been quoted by this particular newspaper, that 24 gas cylinders were on the ground floor of the 7-story building. There were other materials like, cardboard, plastic, etc., which did not allow these workers to escape the room. And at this point, I'd also mentioned the Deputy Prime Minister here, Sheikh Fahad Al Yusuf Al Sabah, who visited the site and ordered the arrest of the building's owner. He said, and I'm quoting here, he said that unfortunately the greed of the real estate owner is what led to this matter. That is what he said. And, we also, as we proceed through the day, we'll keep you bringing the latest updates. But this is, as of now, what we have is, the bodies have already arrived at the Cochin Airport, and we have Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, his cabinet colleagues, as well as senior other government officials at the site who are present for the official, procedures and to pay their last respects. Shweta.
Right. Now, the death of these 45 Indian workers, it's not just a tragedy that's heart-wrenching to begin with, it's also a reminder of the dismal condition and the vulnerability of Indian migrant workers in countries where they are needed because they're an important part of the workforce, they're cheap labor, but their living condition is beyond that of people who are citizens and natives to those places. So such as Kuwait, which really depends on Indian diaspora to work for it, constitutes about 30% of its total workforce. Better still, the working conditions are abysmal.
Absolutely, absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head. So here, we're talking about the migrant workers, how they live, and it is no, it's not for anyone to guess the poor working conditions that they're working in these Gulf nations. And like you mentioned, the death of these 49 people, and most of whom were Indians. It has also brought back the focus on the living conditions of these migrant workers. And let me also tell you, at this point, Congress MP Shashi Tharoor has also, called on the centre to draft a bill to ensure at least decent working conditions for these Indians abroad. It has absolutely put the focus back on the living and working conditions of these migrants, who have to leave their home country so that, they can perhaps give a better living conditions, for their families and for their loved ones. Now, here we of course, as I mentioned, that Shashi Tharoor has already, he has urged the centre to draft a bill to ensure at least, decent working conditions for these migrant workers. So now here,
Right.
as I already mentioned at the beginning of our chat, that Kuwait has a population of over 48 lakhs. And out of that, 21% are Indian. And also, this is the Public Authority of Civil Information of Kuwait figures. The country's population comprised 16 lakh citizens and 33 lakh expatriates as of last, December. So, here the question also is that why is it that most of the Indians are attracted to the Gulf countries? Now, it's important to note that these Gulf countries offer them much better wages and
Right.
wages, beg your pardon, and especially because of the high demand for unskilled Indian workers. So, studies have also shown that even low-skilled workers get higher pay in the Gulf nations, if they have the required experience in the said domain. So here, from discrimination to poor working conditions, Indian laborers have faced several such issues, not only in Kuwait, but other, countries as well. And let me tell you, as per the Human Rights Watch, migrant workers, who account for two-thirds of the Kuwait's population, are absolutely vulnerable to abuse, forced labor, and deportation of for minor, infractions. So this is not me saying, or this is not, you quoting me. Here are quoting the Human Rights Watch, which has said that. Now, despite all of these, despite these incidents coming to light, they continue to, they do not enjoy any such legal protections. That is quite
Absolutely.
unfortunate, to say the least.